At any rate, with all the attention that's being given to some of these failures in terms of assassination attempts, whether it's the one in Butler or West Palm or the White House Correspondents' Dinner, or even the most recent UFC freedom fight, to include certainly in the private sector, Luigi Mangione, his murder of United Health, Brian Thompson, CEO, and also other luminaries, Charlie Kirk with Tyler Robinson. I want to include all of them because there's relevance here for all of it. And so the first thing I want to do is take a pulse here, and everyone's asking, how in the world could this possibly happen? You would think that after each one, the folks responsible would be going back to the drawing board and how can we fix this machine? What are the gaps? Uh, Vulnerabilities have certainly been exposed, and terrorists have certainly taken strong note of it. The lingering question is, how come folks responsible haven't gone to the drawing board and figured it out? And so that's probably one of the biggest concerns and challenges we have right now. So having said that, and looking back on my 52, soon to become 53 years in this business, 20 years, actually 25 plus years as an actual practitioner and protector, and then also the balance of the other 30 as a academe, also a course developer and trainer, I'm asking myself the same questions. But I have a little bit more insight that I do want to share with you. First thing I want to pose the question, I have some answers, I'm certainly happy to entertain yours, is how in the world did we get here? And a lot of this has to do with the continued vilification of Trump and the vacuous engagement of the far left. They'll hang on to any theory they want to, if it means getting rid of Trump or whatever the case. Certainly, there's a continuing anti-Semitism component here that's very challenging and very disturbing, as well as the enabling narratives of the media. And so, what in the heck is going on here? So, like anything, most complicated challenges don't have a silver bullet. They have a variety of solutions. But to me, the most egregious right now is the intelligence gaps. Let's take Crooks, Ruth, or even Luigi Mangione, any of these folks, and the most recent one, the UFC proper, and Abraham Alvarez, who apparently was the brains behind this. They seem to be doing quite well with sharing intelligence, and they do it pretty successfully using encrypted apps and so forth. The question is, why in the world can't we? Well, I'm not going to condemn our agencies per se, but what I will say is that they are right now very scattered. They've got Iran, they've got Russia, China, they've got all kinds of problems that have diverted their attention and resources, not the least of which is the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. So to expect them to be able to rivetly focus on this as efficiently as possible is probably a heavy lift. However, when I look at some of the gaps and some of the missed opportunities to share information in timely fashion, I'm basically struck by it. Looking back at how we got here post 9/11, a real quick history lesson. The 9/11 Commission decided in its infinite wisdom at the time, well-intentioned, to create DHS, one umbrella, one sandbox. Unfortunately, that was naive. They wanted to address the problems with information sharing. They wanted to focus more on prevention, certainly refine protection, mitigation, response, and recovery, but conspicuously absent from that mandate and that challenge was the prevention part. And when you look at the national preparedness goal, those five I just mentioned, the key one was improve our information sharing mechanisms. Well, that's been a conundrum since at least Kennedy's assassination and even before. And so the problem we're seeing is folks in the DHS sandbox are on the face very willing to be involved with preventing attacks, certainly. But the problem is because of the loss of preeminence, making this sort of uh, amalgamation of all these agencies, they wanted to maintain some preeminence. So that's diluted their ability to share. In some cases, by some um, pundits, they think that the sharing is even worse. So where does that leave us? Um, we are we are really challenged by that. And I'm looking back at some solutions, which I'm always big on. I want to look at solutions. Unfortunately, and I take no pleasure, former beloved agency has been one of the biggest offenders in terms of sharing information, not only among other agencies, but among their own advanced people. After Butler, that was one of the big critiques the GAO came up with. After West Palm, they talked about it. And they even talked about it recently after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And that is a continuing problem. They haven't refined it properly. They haven't engaged other agencies. The 9/11 Commission, unfortunately, some of their warnings are still there. They're still dire. They haven't done what they said they were going to do. The other problem is, and again, there's factors here, it's financing, there's lack of training, it's basically spreading themselves too thin, providing protective details for too many, and not being able to focus on their primary skill set. We've always said, many of us have said, the older school and other security thinkers said that they should remove themselves, the Secret Service, from DHS and become its own entity in Treasury Department so they can have their own funding and focus primarily on protection. They're diluted because they do investigation, which again dilutes resources, focus, and expertise. So training is a huge gap there, but the intelligence sharing part is probably among the most egregious. And there are solutions to that, but based on what we've seen, at least in the last two plots and last two attempts, uh, the intelligence community, for whatever reasons collectively, haven't been able to discover what family members have. And I find that just fascinating. We can look at several examples in history. The most recent, the UFC plot, uh, Tyson Proper, his mother discovered this massing of weapons. She reported this, not the intelligence community. Certainly they responded, but it was undiscovered for at least 2 months. What's wrong with this picture? Now, certainly lone wolves are difficult to discover, but there are many as 30 players in that. So there's leakage. So what's wrong
Uh,
with it?
Larry, if I may, let me just jump in here. I know that
Sure,
because
please.
I think it's very important. We only have about minute
Right.
and a half left,
I'm almost there.
literally. But I wanted to maybe get from you a your thoughts on the top three fixes that you've identified, because I know you've written papers on this. There's several papers that have been written quite some time ago, and then you have some papers that you're working on now.
Right.
Well, tell me, what are the top three fixes that we need to look out for?
Okay. Um, right off the bat, we have to stop being siloed. The deputy director of the FBI recently, when they discovered this plot with the UFC, was reticent about sharing information that the public may have been able to be helpful with. So that's just one example. I would say that we have to collectively, all of our intelligence agencies, get together and figure out what is our public service announcement. We have not engaged successfully the public. See something, say something is like vanilla ice cream that's 2 months old. It doesn't do it, doesn't cut it. We need to know with specificity, what are we looking for? What vulnerabilities have been exposed with these recent attempts? Those are the things we want to engage the public with. For example, there are three test cases here, classic case, I'll mention them quickly.
But
Um,
just tell us the other two, if you
okay,
can, if you don't mind. Just because of time.
procurement of WMD. You may not be a security expert, but if you
Mhm.
go into a beauty supply salon and buy 10 gallons of 60% hydrogen peroxide, or you buy things that just don't quite fit the context, please report this. Certainly parents need to report it. Um, Also, any types of manifestos that are being written, and also passionate, obsessive discussions about how you oppose the United States involvement in the Middle East, like Major Hassan did, or radicalization speeches, and you become more and more isolated. So Kaczynski, Hassan, and Breivik, for those of you that have studied that, they have a singular obsession, and everything in their world goes around that. And then they start taking actions that are
Okay.
disturbing, behaviors that exceed the norm, behaviors that seem suspicious out of context. Those need to be reported. And then, secondly, that conduit to that report to the police department needs to have a very robust reporting mechanism to federal authorities. We're still missing that.